What's up, guys? My name's Sizemore, and I just want to take a little bit of time to talk to you guys about me overcoming addiction, me beating heroin, actually what the withdrawal was like, what to expect. There's people out there, there's family members dealing with addiction, there's people dealing with this that really don't know what to expect, don't know what's going to happen, so I kind of just want to take a little bit of time to talk to you guys about that. Like I said, my name's Sizemore. I'm from Germantown, Ohio. Grew up in Germantown, went to school at Valley View. My father died when I was 8 years old. I come from a great home. I come from a loving background. My mom, I felt loved all my life. I felt tons of love. She was a good mother. My dad passed when I was 8. And it was kind of a little bit, hard for me from then on. I just remember feeling a lot of resentments, towards other guys, for having their fathers and doing father-son things, and I was angry, and I didn't know I was an addict at that time. Obviously, that came a little later on, but I was always a little wild, I guess. I hung out with the older guys. I started partying at a young age. I was a good athlete, played a lot of sports, knew a lot of people. I was your average, typical high school athlete. I was young, and I think that's the case with a lot of people. This happens. Addictions it's made its way to places that it wasn't in the past. The suburbs, your neighbor's house, your house. Family members, doctors, lawyers. I mean, all kinds of people from all different walks of life are suffering with addiction. Like I said, I just think there's people out there that might, have a family member, someone they love and care about, dealing with this. I started using drugs. Like I said, I was young, so I started smoking weed before anything, and I think that was in 8th grade. I probably smoked my first joint. And at the time, I thought it was all right. I thought it was cool. A lot of people were doing it, but like I said, I was hanging out with, a lot of older people. I heard a lot it was a gateway drug, and, I just thought nonsense. There's no way I would do other stuff. There's no way it could lead me to other things. So I started smoking pot real heavy, starting in like the 8th grade. And fastly, it progressed into pain pills, drinking heavy every weekend. And it got to the point where I was smoking weed every day, before school, after school. So it got to the point where I started experimenting in other drugs. That just wasn't enough no more. The parties on the weekends opened up these doors to try new things, and I did, and I tried lots of things: painkillers, cocaine, ecstasy, mushrooms, acid. I did a lot of stuff at a young age, and I always had my body liked opiates and painkillers more than it liked anything. So I really searched that out. I really searched for those, and I was addicted quickly, and I was young. It got to the point where I would get on the bus to go to basketball games, and I would take painkillers. I would pop pills before I got on the bus to go to an away game or before a game, and I was playing games high. So it got worse, it got worse in school, in high school, and I barely managed to stay eligible for 4 years of basketball. Played basketball in high school, and I was strung out on heroin by the end of my senior year. As a juvenile, I really got in no trouble with the law. There was, a few, I think times I got in trouble as a juvenile, nothing major. When I became an adult, ages 18 and 19, I started immediately getting in trouble with the law, you know, over drugs. Almost every charge I have on my rap sheet, which is pretty long, is, you know, for drugs. It was all in the name of drugs and addiction, to get drugs, to get money for drugs, having drugs on me. You know, almost every single one. I first started my first line of heroin my senior year of high school. And like I said, I've always had a thing, you know, the other stuff I did, but opiates was always my favorite. That was always my drug of choice, opiates and painkillers. And those things. When I tried heroin for the first time, it was very euphoric. You know, it did something to my body that nothing else did, and I just knew, like, I was gonna do more of this. Little did I know how much heroin was gonna change my life forever. Like I said, my senior year, I'm strung out on heroin, and my criminal life started almost immediately. You know, there was never enough money for heroin. There was never enough heroin for me. It was just one thing after another. I went to prison for my first time at age 21, and it was for Grand Theft Auto, for drug money. I got out from that. I did a year. I got out from that. I wasn't out 60 days, and I went back to prison. Only this time it was for 4 years, and it was for a more serious crime. You know, it's like it just kept progressing and getting worse, and it don't matter. Like, I would go to prison, and, you know, I would sober up, and I would think of these things, you know, that I wanted to do with my life, and I wanted to stop using, but I would get out, and the cravings and the urges and, you know, the devil would play on that so much, and I would go back to using in a matter of time. It was only a matter of time. And, you know, my life kind of continued like that. It spiraled out of control. It spiraled downhill very fast, and it was in and out of jail, institutions, rehabs. I spent almost all of my 20s incarcerated, and it was all, like I said, in the name of drugs. You know, I literally threw everything away for drugs. I threw my soul away. It took my soul. It took my family. It took everything from me. I wanted nothing but drugs. And it was hard. You know, I was homeless. I was lost. I was broken. I felt like I was nothing. I didn't want to live no more. I didn't want to go out in public and see people. I didn't want to talk to nobody. I would do whatever I had to do to keep using and get more heroin. The 4 years I was in lots of trouble, in prison, fighting and stuff over money, because I would use in there. I would use drugs in there, and I would rack up these debts that I couldn't pay, and I'd have to fight about it. Or, you know, my addiction didn't stop just because I got incarcerated. You know, the addiction is a disease, and the drugs are only a symptom of my disease. You know, that's what I used to kind of cope with things, I guess. But, you know, a lot of people get drugs and alcohol and stuff mixed up because they think that is the actual disease, and it's not. The disease is addiction, and it's in your brain. Your brain, literally, I process things different. I think about things different. Things mean different things to me in my brain, and it tells me things will be okay, and it'll tell me they'll still love me, and it'll tell me I'll be just fine. And in reality, it's not, and I'm not gonna be just fine. You know, I'm literally digging my own grave every time I use a drug or a substance, and that's the disease. It's my brain. It's in my thinking. It's in my processing. It's that, and I think that is it's often, you know, confused. And that's kind of why I wanted to do this video, you know, to talk to these people that might have that family member, that loved one that's dealing with addiction, that don't really know what's going on, or don't really know how to handle it, or don't really know what to expect next. And I can tell you that if that is the case, you know, it's probably going to get worse before it gets better, you know. But that the person addicted, you know, it never really means to hurt nobody or or be a bad person, you know, just make some bad decisions due to the disease of addiction. So I tried to get off heroin multiple times with no success. You know, like I said, I come from a very loving home. My mother has been through a lot. My father dying and all her kids, and you know, just a lot of issues. And you know, she's always been there for me. My mother has never left my side through everything I've done and been through. Never. She's always loved and cared for me and tried to support me and tried to make me a better person. And just, I've almost killed her. I've destroyed. You know, I almost destroyed her, you know, doing this. But she would help me, and I would get into treatment, and I would try to get off this stuff. And, you know, every time I couldn't. I would either get clean and then a month later go back to using, or 2 or 3 days into the treatment or the detox, I would go back out. I would just leave treatment. I wouldn't care what I had to do. I was going back out to use some more drugs. The withdrawals got to a point to where I couldn't handle it. I couldn't take it. You know, a lot of people, they like to, you know, you hear some people try to compare withdrawals off heroin to the flu or cold or being, and you can't even do that. It's nothing like that. It is a million times worse. I can't really describe it. They say every addict has to hit rock bottom. You know, every addict hits rock bottom, or have they hit their rock bottom yet? And you know, I did hit my rock bottom, but that's not what I had to do. What I had to do was find God. I had to give my life to God. And that's why I believe in all these attempts I had to get clean and sober. It's because I was still in that mindset, in that frame of mind, to where, you know, I wasn't fully ready to change my life and give my life to Christ and walk that walk with God. And that's what I had to do to get clean and sober. I mean, like, now I have a spiritual foundation. I have a great support group. I have brothers and friends that I love and love me, and we just want to help each other and see each other do better. And if I ever had that craving or that urge again, I could call them and talk to them, go to a meeting, talk to my sponsor. I work the steps regularly. This last time, for me, what I had to do to get clean and sober, so it got so bad for me that I was on the verge of suicide. I was literally probably hours away from taking my life. I have a woman in my life that is just amazing, and she also has stuck by me and had my back and wanted the best for me forever. And you know, she basically saved me, her and my mom and my friends. I have a couple of friends that's in social work, and you know, they know my situation, and it was bad for me. And finally I went to the hospital and I told them I was suicidal. And really, I was suicidal because I couldn't get no more drugs, or I didn't have no more drugs. Either way, anyway, it got to a point for me to where I was ready to just end it, because I was using to, like, suppress all these feelings and emotions, but by using, it would just make them worse, you know, multiply them by 10, but then I'd have to use again to not feel those problems. It was just a deadly cycle, and I just didn't want to feel nothing, you know. I was just existing. I wasn't living. I was just existing, and I wasn't good at that. I mean, I was strung out, and I was strung out bad. I go to the hospital and I tell them I'm suicidal, and I get my treatment. You know, they give me dual diagnosis treatment. They treat me for mental health, which is common with addiction. You know, mental health, it could be an issue. You know, there could be some mental health treatment needed there, not just drug treatment, but mental health treatment as well. You know, they go hand in hand. Usually there's a dual case there. In a lot of cases. And so for me, that was the case. And so I went and I got treatment for both. And they gave me what's called a MAT, medically assisted treatment. You know, they give me medicine to wean me off of the heroin, so the withdrawals ain't as bad, and they're giving my mental health treatment and my drug abuse treatment as well. So when I'm finished with that, I come home and I go straight to Southbrook. It's my first time ever being at Southbrook Church. I've heard about it. I had a good friend attending Southbrook Church at the time of his overdose. One of my brothers, I love him, I miss him. And he was attending Southbrook, you know, trying to do the same thing I was doing. And so I go to Southbrook for the first time, and I'm broken, I'm lost, I'm tore up, I'm filled with shame and guilt, and I just don't know where I'm gonna turn in life. I have nothing, you know, I've accumulated nothing in my life. I have nothing to show for my 33 years of life, and I was very depressed, sad, and I listened to the service. I listened to Charlie give his service, and after the service, I just walked straight up to Charlie, the pastor, and my family's with me, my sister, my mom, my aunt, and we go straight up to Charlie after the service, and I just beg him to pray for me. You know, I kind of tell him my situation, and he puts his arm around me and he prays for me, and he sends me to Frank Crockett, who is the assistant pastor. And Frank Crockett, he prays for me as well, but only he gets a little more personal, and he gets my phone number, and he asks some more questions, and he invites me to men's group, and so Frank sent out an email to all the guys in Southbrook men's group, you know, telling them my situation, basically like, hey, we got a man down and he needs help. And so I received, I don't know, anywhere from 7 to 10 phone calls from guys just in men's group, just wanting to help, just wanting to put me to work, just wanting to pray with me, wanting to get me in men's group and be there for me and talk to me. And so up to this day, I still work with guys from men's group. I'm still active with guys from men's group. I talk to guys at men's group every day. I go to men's group. You know, I'm digging into real issues, you know, about my addiction, about my life and my depression. And there's guys there from all walks of life. I mean, it doesn't have to be addiction that you're dealing with. You know, like, people need help in life. People struggle in life. People have issues. People have problems, you know, and that's fine. I'm here to tell you that that is perfectly fine, because we love you no matter what, and we want to help you and be there for you no matter what, just like what was done for me. You know, that was my biggest problem going to Southbrook. Well, my biggest mental block, barrier going to Southbrook was I was so scared to be judged, you know, from all the places I've been, all the things I've done. You know, I felt not good enough, and I've never once got that from anybody at Southbrook. They have done nothing but take me under their wing and love me and look out for me and want the best for me. And you know, I'm so grateful. Today I'm grateful for all that. In my time of addiction, I remember being in the county jail. There was a year close to me getting clean that every holiday, every birthday, my son's, my mom's, every Christmas, Thanksgiving, you name it, I was incarcerated. I say that I did years in prison, but this was, I would keep turning myself in and going to treatment and turning myself into jail just to try to get clean. And I would do that over and over again. Like I said before, there was multiple attempts at trying to get clean, but I never succeeded. And I remember sitting in jail withdrawing off heroin. My brother passed away in 2017, May 2017, from, you know, he had diverticulitis, he had complications inside, and it was drug and alcohol induced, basically. Like, it was problems he was having because of all the drugs and alcohol. He passed away in May 2017 from diverticulitis. Shortly after that, you know, I wanted to get clean. I turned myself in to get clean, and I was withdrawing off heroin, and I had a kidney stone for the very first time in my life. I didn't know what it was at the time. I was in pain. I was scared. I thought I was gonna die. Like I said, my brother had just passed, and I was scared. I was withdrawn. I had kidney stones. I hadn't ate in like a week. I hadn't used the bathroom in like a week. I was peeing blood. I was just scared to death. The jail wouldn't do nothing for me. I was calling home crying, just like basically saying goodbye, because I just knew I was dying. And I remember in the shower shaking, and I was cursing God. I was cursing God. I was so mad and I was so hurt and I was so upset. And you know, I just remember being so broken and lost, and I say that because God's been there for me the whole time. That's stuff I needed to go through. I needed to experience that. I needed to go through that to fully understand how serious this is, and how, you know, how close I probably am to dying if I keep using. Or, you know, I know there's been experiences in my life where, looking back on them now, I know that was God. At the time I didn't know it because I wouldn't let myself believe. I was so angry and I held grudges because my dad died when I was 8. He took my dad, now he took my brother. There's been other loved ones and brothers of mine that have died to this, and I refused to open my heart up to Christ completely. Where I'm at now in life, like I said, man, I get up every morning, I go to work, I get to be a father, I get to be a son, and a good one. You know, I get to be a good one. I call my mom every day and I tell her I love her and how is she doing. I check up on her. My son's there with me every day. I provide for him. I'm paying the bills, you know. Most importantly though, you know, I'm a child of God, and I talk to God every day. I pray every day. Yeah, you know, I'm not perfect by no means. I still have all my issues, but you know, one thing for sure, two things for certain. You know, I love God, and God is what made all this possible. Would I change things in the past? Yes, most certainly, because I hurt a lot of people in my addiction. I did a lot of things I'm not proud of, and you know, I would definitely change a lot of things. But I also am, you know, the person I am now. Like, I'm happy with myself right now. You know, like I said, I'm a father, and my son loves me more than anything. My mom is proud of her baby boy. She loves me and I love her, and she's proud of me. And that means so much to me. You know, I've met people in my journey like Matt and Josh, and they just have inspired me. From the first time I met them, the way they spoke, you know, coming from similar backgrounds, not the same, but similar. The way they spoke, they're very intelligent, good people, got good heads on their shoulders, and they inspired me. And I knew from the first time I met them, like, hey, I wanted to get to know these guys a lot better. And my life now is just, it's not perfect by no means. I struggle, everybody does, but I struggle well, and I struggle with God. You know, God's there with me at all times, and He's always there for you to turn to, and He's always there for you to talk to, and tell your problems to, and ask for help, and, you know, just give thanks. I find myself doing that a lot more. I give thanks for all these little things that I took for granted that now mean the world to me. And you know, if anything, I just want to say that I love you. Jesus loves you. We all love you. And no matter what you may be dealing with, whether it's addiction or depression or marriage or who knows what it is, man, we just want to be here for you and lend you a helping hand, and, you know, walk this journey together. You know, we don't have the same path, but we have the same destination. And I love you. Hey, my name's Cole Sizemore. If you want to reach me for any reason, my email is jcolesizemore@icloud.com, or you can hit me up on Facebook, Messenger, or through City Hustle. And however you can get a hold of City Hustle, I'm here for you, man. Hit me up.